Hi everyone, it's Thursday night again. I'm from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com, and I am so excited to be here with you again. And I'm actually really excited about today's topic, which is homeschool SOS. My kids refuse to do their work. And I'm not saying that my kids are refusing to do their work right now, although I have had moments like that with them. But I have decided to cover this topic today because I have had so many people coming to me asking me what to do when their kids do that. Because you know what? Let's face it. Every homeschooling parent is going to go through things like that from time to time. And you know, I just said to someone earlier today, if a homeschooling parent ever tells you that their kids never give them a hard time, they're not telling you the truth, because homeschooling does not automatically make kids perfect. It doesn't automatically make them absolutely well behaved. So let's just get that out of the way right away. This is something that we are all going to have to deal with from time to time. So I don't want you as the parents to feel like you are doing anything wrong. And I just want to say hi to everybody today. I'm so excited to have all of you here. I'm just going to give it just like a minute or two for other people to hop on, because I always tend to start just a little bit early because I'm one of those people. I would rather be early than late. So I actually today was afraid that I wasn't even going to be able to have the live stream today because my phone it won't charge. Like we have 3 different chargers in the house, and I could not get my phone to charge in any of them, and it's been acting up the past few days. Now my 14-year-old, she eventually got it to work on her charger, so hopefully it will last until I get for another phone, which I need one. I accidentally shut the car door on this phone a couple weeks ago, and the whole back is cracked. So I'm really lucky that the camera didn't go too. But anyway, let's see. Okay, we've got some more people. I'm so excited to see everybody. Heidi, Dahlia's Roses, Dawn Wade, D, Nicole, Survival Kid, Mayflower Homeschool. I'm so excited to see all of you. Survival Kid said, thank you for that. I often think it's something I'm doing wrong. I know, you know, it's this complex that we get sometimes as homeschooling parents, because a lot of times when other homeschoolers are talking about what they do in their homes, or when you're reading blogs, or when you're watching videos, a lot of times, you know, they're focusing on the good things in their homeschool because they want others to know how nice, how special, how great it can be to be all together learning. And I think that sometimes we just need to learn to start being a little bit more open with one another and letting each other know that, hey, you're not alone. My kids give me a hard time too. And that is exactly the case with me too. You know, I've had a few instances the past few weeks where I have had kids who have been a little difficult. Difficult is a good word. So yeah, some people are bragging about it sometimes, Dana. I think you're right. But no, don't ever believe it. If they tell you that their kids never give them a hard time, I would find that highly suspect. So anyway, oh, I'm sorry, Joe. You know what? Oh my gosh, the words, they like disappear off the top of my phone if I don't get to them fast enough. So that's why later on I'm always like going back and forth between my computer and the phone because they don't stay up there, so I can't see them all the time. So anyway, what should you do when you find that your kids are refusing to do their work? You know, I find that it's something that really has to be done in steps. There are some questions that you have to ask yourself before you make the decision to, you know, maybe involve a little bit of discipline. Not spanking or anything like that. I'm just saying, you know, well, we'll get to that later. Let's just take this one step at a time, because I think that a lot of times automatically we assume that because our kids are refusing to do their work that they're just being defiant. And you know, in some cases they are just being defiant. They're kids and they like to test their boundaries. But in other cases there are actual other issues that they're dealing with that we have to take into account as well. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, are you expecting too much? Are your lessons too long? You know, I found that with my kids at least, and all kids are different, with my kids, if a lesson goes beyond 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to lose their attention, you know. So I would rather keep my lessons short, keep their attention span, and keep them interested in the subject. So just ask yourself that. Are your lessons too long? For example, are you assigning too many, for example, math pages? Are you assigning too many grammar pages? And that actually leads into the next one is, are they doing too much writing? Because, you know, you just have to think to yourself, I don't know if you remember being a kid. As adults now, I don't think that most of us write as much as we did when we were kids. I remember though writing in school, my hand would cramp up all the time. And I would have like calluses on my fingers, or I would have a sore like on my pinky where my thumbnail went into. And it was from doing all of this writing all the time. So I think that a lot of times it could be that you just need to give them a little bit of a break from the writing. And, you know, beyond that, there are also some kids, and I have one, who have some fine motor issues. So as difficult as writing a lot can be for you know, other kids, it's, you know, way harder for those kids who are having fine motor issues, because they're already, you know, having a difficult time with it. And then when you are giving them like all this writing, it's very hard on them. And I think it's something that we don't think about that much, because a lot of times we don't really remember what it's like to have to do all that writing all the time. But, you know, I actually, the other day, I was writing something down by hand rather than typing it. And I literally wrote like a paragraph, and I was like, man, my hand is hurting. So that's definitely something that you want to think about. And another question that you could ask yourself is, are you covering too much in one day? Because I know that it can be really tempting to try to get all the subjects covered in one day. But, you know, when kids are having to sit, you know, for 4 or 5 hours of school a day, or even 6 hours of school a day, you know, it's hard for them. Adults don't even really like to sit for that long. So are they giving you a little bit of a difficulty because of that? Because there's just too much going on. So that is like one thing that I really try to do in our homeschool is we take lots of breaks, and we do very short lessons, because I found that it really helps with their attitude. It really helps with their enthusiasm, and it really helps us just to get things done in a way that I don't feel like I'm battling with my kids. So after that question, you need to ask yourself, could your child be hungry? Or could they be tired? Or could they just be having a bad day? You know, because I don't know how many times we have breakfast at 8:30 every morning. Okay, and it's 8:30. The kids know 8:30 is breakfast. But it never fails that there will always be a child who says they don't want breakfast. They're not hungry. And then I try to tell them, well, you need to eat breakfast, but they refuse to eat it. And I was one of those kids when I was little. I couldn't eat breakfast. I used to get a stomach ache. So, you know, I don't really push them too much about the issue. But then what ends up happening is they're hungry when school starts, of course. So they start to get cranky and not wanting to do their work. And a lot of times all they really need is a snack. My cat is shaking the table. You know, every week my cat is here. Bella, you're a pain. So beyond that, okay, tired. You know, are your kids getting enough sleep? Are they waking up too early, or are they going to bed too late? Because I think that another thing that a lot of homeschoolers, we think that we have to start like at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning like the schools do. And that is just so not the case. You know, you really want to try to follow your child's sleep schedule. Let them have the amount of sleep that they need. You know, and this goes even for teenagers, because as teenagers go through puberty and everything, they need that extra sleep. And it is not going to harm them in any way if you let them sleep late. It's just not going to. I have my oldest daughter, who graduated 2 years ago from homeschool, I would literally have to wake her up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon all the time. But she got her schoolwork done, and she was just a night owl. She did it overnight, but the things that she knew that she would need my help with, which was usually math related, she would come to me at a time that she knew that I could help her. So, you know, just think to yourself, are my kids getting enough sleep? Am I following their sleeping patterns? And, you know, as for the last one that I talked about before, are they having a bad day? We all have bad days. You know, sometimes we wake up on the wrong side of the bed and everything seems to go wrong. And, you know, that happens with kids too. And, you know, as long as it isn't something that is like happening all the time with them, if it's just like a once in a while thing, you know, on those bad days where they just can't seem to get it together, I would say just pop in a movie, pop some popcorn, make some hot chocolate, and just enjoy being together on those days. Now before I move on, I'm just going to check all the comments because I haven't gotten to look at any of them yet. So let me just see what you have to say. Oh, Tanny, thank you for the hair thing. I don't know if my husband likes it very much. He wanted me to get my hair cut short, and I did, and I don't know if he really likes it, but my hair grows so fast, it's not really an issue. Let's see. Day Whoopka said, hello, glad to be here. We had a similar day to the title of this video today. Yeah, like I said, I've had a few. I've had a few days like that the last few weeks. I don't know if it's the change in the weather or what. Let me see. Nicole, you just started homeschooling. That is so exciting. Let's see. Just gonna go down. Okay, Dana DeMerchant said, it depends. Is it from bad behavior or are they telling you it's too much? Right. And that's the thing. You have to really, because sometimes kids, especially younger kids, might not come right out and tell you that the work is too much for them. Sometimes you just have to watch in the signals that they give you. Now, older kids, yeah, they will definitely tell you if it's too much. But younger kids, a lot of times, it will come out in a way that looks more like disobedience. So I think it's really important to just watch your kids. But as I mentioned earlier, yes, sometimes it is disobedience. And we are going to be talking about that. But I'm leaving that one for last. We're going to try to like rule it out first. And we're going to cover that one last. Let's see. Dee said, I'm visiting family in Pennsylvania right now, and it's a chore to get my daughter to homeschool here. She is so much better with a routine. Dee, I live in PA, and how long are you going to be in Pennsylvania for is my question. Because are you in a situation that you could possibly have your trip to Pennsylvania, visiting your family, be your school routine? You know, we drove to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri back in 2011 when my oldest son was graduating from AIT and boot camp. And, you know, we just we ditched all the schoolwork for that week. And the road trip itself was our school. Because even if you're just visiting family, your child is still interacting with people they probably don't see very often. So they're getting that social studies in there. They're getting that geography with visiting a new place. So I know that a lot of times it is hard for kids, you know, if they don't have that routine at home. But what I would say is just take the opportunity right now. You know, you're in a new place. Take that opportunity to just kind of embrace the natural learning that comes with it for a while, because, you know, your routine will always be there waiting for you when you get back. Oh, we have someone from Chile here. Hi. Let me see. Little Mama Purple said, I started giving my son 10 minutes of tablet time of every subject he finishes. Yeah, reward systems will often help with people. Nicole said, we went to a Caribou coffee shop today and did schoolwork. Amazingly, they all got done in 2 hours. Yeah, you know what? My 12-year-old, she used to like to walk to the library to get her. Well, she's not 12 anymore. She's 16 now. But when she was 12, we lived really close to the library. So she used to like walk to the library and she would get all of her schoolwork done there, probably because it was quieter there. But if it's something that is going to work for them, then I say yes, definitely let them do it. Joe said, my youngest 14 can sleep forever, but I allow it because he's happier and works better when well rested. Yes, and that is so true. And I know that a lot of times you will have people, especially people who do not homeschool, saying to you, you know what, how is your child going to learn how to get up early when they have to? How are they going to learn to hold a job? And, you know, to that I have to say, first of all, not all jobs are first shift. There are a lot of second and third shift jobs. And, you know, I'd also have to say alarm clocks really work great. They do work. And so if someone realizes that they have to get up for work every day, I don't think there's going to be much of an issue with the alarm clock. My daughter, the one that I was saying, usually slept till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She eventually did get a job her senior year, and she sometimes had to be at work at like 6:30 in the morning, and she was never once late for work. And it was just because she was using the alarm clock on her phone. And it's just weird. I think that people have this whole school mindset going like with everything. It's like they think that you have to. No, another one of my cats is up here. Excuse me. Luna. No, Luke, can you come get Luna, please? So anyway, so they get this whole school mindset going where they think that you can only do things a certain way and that you have to be trained to do just normal everyday things in life. And, you know, getting up early, unless it's like a really extreme case, I don't think it's something that you really have to train for. It's just something that you do because you know you have to do it. So anyway, let's see. Dee said, visiting for a couple weeks. My sister had to have a biopsy. My hometown, we visit often. Oh, okay. I hope she's okay, Dee. Jennifer, my child is strong-willed and defiant. It's a struggle. Yes, it can be. Were you at my live stream a couple weeks ago when we talked about strong-willed children? Also, I have, I'm talking to Jennifer right now, but anyone else who wants to listen, in the description box below, I've linked to a blog post that I wrote a while back about, I think it's 10 ways to deal with a resistant child when you're homeschooling. So possibly that could help you. Oh, we have someone from Philadelphia. Let's see. Yeah, we are all in the same boat. Joe said, am I the only guy here again? Come on, where are all the homeschooling dads? I don't know, but I'm glad to see you here. That is awesome. And you know, I know that there are a couple in my group. I haven't seen any of them on here yet. I want to see the cats. I love cats. They actually show up in a lot of my videos. My live ones so far, they haven't. They usually stay behind the camera, but yeah, they've been in a few of my videos. They're very mischievous. I actually just posted a little short video on Instagram the other day. My kids made these clove apples, and my cat, one of my cats, the one that was just on the table, Luna, she was up there eating all the cloves off of the apple. They're constantly getting into trouble and rubbing her face on them. But anyway, yes, it's on, Jennifer. That blog post is in my links in the description box below. And I actually think I did link to that video too, the strong-willed child one. I'm pretty sure that is in the description box. Let me just check right now, and I can tell you right now if I put it there. Yes, so if you look down in the description box here, it will say in related videos, there's one that says, help, my child hates being homeschooled, and I left the link for that. And then there's another one called Homeschooling the Strong-Willed Child, and I left the link for that one too. So hopefully they will be able to help you a little bit as well. Oh, Dee, you're in Bucks County. Okay, I'm in Lehigh County, so that's actually not too far. And Philadelphia is near Bucks County too, right? Let's see. My husband homeschooled our daughter when homeschools our daughter when he is home during the week. He watches your videos as well. Not the only dad. I love to see that they're getting involved. That is just awesome. Oh, thank you, Tachi. Jennifer Phillips. Okay. Oh, you got that. All right. Let's see. Kristen said, my husband works with my daughter when he is home Saturdays. Yeah, that is so awesome, seeing like the dads get involved in all of this too. And you know, with my husband, he's more of like the hands-on kind of dad. He won't be like sitting and doing academic work or anything like that, but he shows the kids, you know, like how to change the oil, how to put air in the tire, you know, all of that stuff around the house. That is what he is showing them how to do. He showed my daughter, she's always been interested in just learning how to do things with her hands. I always say she's my future engineer. And she just watched. She didn't help, but he rewired some stuff down in the basement, and so she was watching him do that. So anyway, I'm struggling with consistency. Some days they follow the schedule. Some days they don't care about it. How old are your kids? I don't know how to say your name. Is that Yves? I'm not sure. Is that, like, how old are your kids? Let's see. Bestie's Mirror says, is it good to homeschool if the child has no siblings? Yes, I think that any time is a good time to homeschool an only child. If there are any parents here who have an only child, Kristen, you have an only child. I would love for you to chime in, because I don't have experience with that. But what I can tell you is that if you've ever heard of the Notebooking Fairy, Jimmy Quick, who writes the Notebooking Fairy, that blog, she has an only child, and she is like a homeschool guru. So yes, you absolutely do not need to have more than one child in order for it to be effective. Let me see. Little Mama Purple, my son's dad helps pay for homeschool stuff. That is awesome. Let me see. My husband is clueless with our schooling, but then again, he's not home much. And yes, dads need to teach their kids some way, somehow. Yeah, and that's why I'm perfectly fine with doing the academic stuff, because I'm a nerd, and I will freely admit that. But I am terrible at doing things around the house, and that is my husband's gift. He can, when it comes to that stuff, he can literally do anything. So yes, of course, I am happy to have him showing my kids that stuff. Let's see. Kristen said oh, you're talking about your daughter. She gets lonely now and again, but she said it's better than getting beaten up daily. Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, see, so there are a lot of people here who have an only child. I can't speak right today. Dee said, this is the first time I have homeschooled. I have 5 adult children. My 11-year-old is the only one home. We started last year. Such an exciting time. I cannot, just those first couple years of homeschooling, even though I kind of messed up because I tried to like do school too much, I also have very nostalgic moments in that time, because that was when I really realized how awesome it can be to have your family together. Dawn said, you have 3 adult children who graduated from public school. Yeah, I have one. My 25-year-old, he graduated from public school. He was homeschooled for 2 years in high school. That was during that phase when I first started homeschooling for 2 years. Then when I sent them back, when I burned out, he ended up graduating from public school. But the rest of my kids, I have 2 homeschool graduates, and the rest are just kind of still in school right now. I mean, homeschool, not public school. Let's see. Yvez, I love your channel so much. Thank you so much. You know, I'm so happy to have a platform where I can actually help people through the mistakes that I've made. You know, it's like, it just makes up for it in a way. And I know that there are some people, you have to make mistakes on your own. But if I can steer anybody away from making some of the pretty big mistakes that I made, I am just only too happy to do that. My husband's cousin was homeschooled, just got accepted to Harvard. Sister is on track for Stanford. That is awesome. In my last blog post, I just linked to an article about how Harvard is actually, they're recruiting homeschoolers, because the Harvard recruiter basically says homeschoolers, they know how to learn, and that's what they're looking for. Let me see. So anyway, I'm just going to move on now back to if your kids are refusing to do their work and some things that you can do in order to help that. So another thing that you need to think about is, now first of all, let me just recap. We talked about are you expecting too much? Are the lessons too long? Is there too much writing involved? And then, is your child hungry, tired, having a bad day? So another thing I want to talk about is, are you taking your child's learning style into consideration? And that is a biggie. And I know that I talk about that a lot, but that is really because it is so important. One of the greatest things about homeschooling is being able to tailor the curriculum to meet your child's needs. So that is important. If you are having your kids do work in a way that doesn't really suit the way that they learn, you are going to have some battles. And one thing that I have seen happening a lot is that a lot of parents, and I did this too, a lot of parents will rely too heavily on like workbooks and textbooks, not because they're working good for their children, but because, it's more convenient. You don't really have to do much planning, and it's just kind of just a security blanket. But what ends up happening is that a lot of the kids who are being homeschooled have been pulled out of school because school wasn't working for them. So if you're pulling your child out of school because the whole school, method was not working for them, you really need to steer clear of that when you're homeschooling. So while textbooks and workbooks can be great resources and can be like kind of a good jumping point when you first start, you really need to watch about starting to rely on them too much, because a great part of the reason that your kids might be giving you a hard time about school is because those textbooks and workbooks just are not a right fit for them. And that's actually one of the issues that I ended up having in my homeschool, was I was relying too much on the workbooks. It was mainly workbooks with us. We had a teacher supply store around here called Becker's Teacher Supply Store. And if you would go there and pay in cash, you would get like a 20% discount off of everything. So I would go there all the time and buy all of these workbooks. But like my kids, like I especially remember one of my daughters, they would have so many workbooks to do every day. She would just sit there crying because she did not want to do this work. And it wasn't because she was being defiant. It was simply because those textbooks were not the way that she was learning best. And I was literally, I feel terrible about this, I was sucking the joy out of learning with her. So that is something that you really, really need to be careful of. So let me just check the comments again, because I saw that there were a few more, because then I only have one more point to get to after this, and that's the discipline one. So let's see. Yeah, the bullying in school is awful. You know, I've got to say I'm lucky. My kids have never really dealt with that, with bullying. I think one of my sons might have been pushed around here and there, but not to the extent that some kids are. And I am only too happy to keep my kids out of it. You know, you always hear people saying, oh, well, you know, it builds character. No, it doesn't build character. You know, it causes a lot of damage, and it is not worth any character building that anybody thinks it might create. That's just ridiculous. That is a ridiculous argument for letting your kids be bullied in school. Dee said we go to co-op and science cafe at our museum and any other things I could find for my daughter. That sounds like fun. Constantina said we have found that our active and vibrant church community is a great source for social things and meeting other kids. Yes. I wish that we had more homeschoolers at our church. That would just be so much fun. Kristen said, I just saw on TV today 2 girls wanted to kill classmates and drink their blood. I saw that. And the teacher intercepted. Weren't they like 11 years old? I saw that. And when the police interviewed them, they said they honestly, they didn't think it was a joke. They honestly thought the girls were serious. I did see that. Amethyst Moon said, I have an only child. We go to community events, the park, the library, and her church activities. In addition to her friends in the neighborhood, she has more genuine social interaction now. So many good ideas. Kristen, your daughter's best friend is the librarian. I can see that. Let me see. Yvette, you have 4 children. Oh, one with a birthday tomorrow. Tell them happy birthday. Oh, Kristen, your birthday is tomorrow. You're only turning 29. Oh my gosh. I wish. My 7-year-old for the longest time was convinced that I was still 29. Like every year I would have another birthday and my daughter would ask me, how old are you now? And I would tell her I'm 29. And she believed me up until this year. Now she figured out that I can't keep turning 29 every year. So anyway, happy birthday to you for tomorrow then, Kristen. 14 on Saturday. Well, still, but happy birthday though. Let's see. Oh, you used to work at Becker's? I love that store. They closed down. I was really upset. But in a way, it's probably a good thing for me because not having that readily available probably really helped me to pull away from that whole workbook thing. I think I really needed to like detox from that. Let me see. Joe said, Kristen, 29, you have no idea how old you just made me feel. I know. Oh my gosh. Your husband's turning 47. Well, okay, so your husband's older than me, so that's good. All right. Nicole said, we started homeschooling due to severe anxiety. He was simply non-functional. So much better so far. I'm so glad to hear that. You know, I have heard of so many people who are homeschooling because of anxiety. Yeah, it's just so much bullying. It's so sad. And a lot of emotionally abusive teachers exist. That is true. While there are a lot of teachers who genuinely care for the students, there are other teachers that you really do need to walk out for. Allison said, my daughter can speak a sentence beautifully with great grammar, but she refuses to write a sentence down, even when I write down what she said and ask her to copy. Yeah, you know, some kids, they just aren't developmentally ready yet. They have it in their head. They can say it orally, but they just don't have that connection yet in their brain to be able to write it down comfortably. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with her. It just means that she hasn't reached that milestone yet. And so that's why it is so important to remember that all kids learn differently. You know, some kids are, you know, really doing well in certain areas, but they might be a little bit slower in other areas. And, you know, they all have their different strengths, but it balances out. And when it comes down to it, they learn. They will learn. And when they are older, you know, no one is going to ask your kids, you know, no future career, interview is going to say to them, how old were you when you learned how to read? I'm sorry, you were 7. I'm sorry, I just can't hire you. That stuff doesn't happen. And you know, they're not going to ask your kids, how old were you when you learned to write? None of that is going to matter in the long run. The only reason that there is actually even like a timeline in these books is because they are written for the school atmosphere. And the school atmosphere is done the way that it is, partially because they have all these kids. They kind of have to keep them all moving along the assembly line. They just have to move that assembly line along. And so homeschooling frees you. And it allows you to just let your kids do what they are ready to do. Yves, my kids are on Good News Club at our church 1 day a week. Oh, they have, our church has, it's through Child Evangelism Fellowship. They do Good News Clubs at elementary schools around here. They actually allow them to do that. It's the children's director at our church, his wife is in charge of that. Let's see. Kristen used to get suspended for reading in class. Kristen comments on my videos all the time. She is quite the bookworm. I like to hear what she has to say because, Kristen, you don't mess around. Let's see. Dawn Waite said, my daughter doesn't enjoy going out. She likes to be home due to her anxiety. Yeah, I have my 14-year-old. She was like that for a time, but recently, just like over the past few months, she has started asking me, can I go for a walk? Can I go to the park? And, you know I don't ever let her go by herself, but, you know, if she has one of my other kids to go with her, just because safety reasons, I am more than happy to let her go. So that's just something that she has overcome. And even my 16-year-old daughter, for the longest time, she just never really wanted to go anywhere. And now, you know, she's met some good friends and she is at their house almost every day. So it's something that thankfully my kids have been able to just overcome really without any issues. I just needed to give them time. Let's see. Allison said she will have to write eventually, but not sure what to do in the meantime. You know, Allison, are you talking about your daughter that is Summer's age? I think if you're talking about her, all I really do with Summer is a lot of times I will have her do copy work. Will she do copy work for you? Because that's still giving them practice with writing. I know Allison. I used to go to church with her, and she's in my homeschool group, so that's how I know the daughter that she's talking about. Let me see. I just don't want to miss any, and I know that I'm going to. No, Alyssa, you're not super late at all. I've only been going for like half an hour, and you know that I usually do end up going for at least an hour, so I think you're good to go. Let's see. Little Mama Purple said, I had special needs teacher tell me I did the right thing about homeschooling my autistic 6-year-old son. You know, I've had teachers tell me that too. One of the learning support teachers at the elementary school that my kids used to go to, I ran into her at the grocery store and I told her, this was years ago, when I pulled the kids back out of school again, and I told her, yeah, we're homeschooling again. And she said to me, I think you made the right decision. So many times I've heard people say that. Let's see. Kristen said, my gram said she's turning 29 on Halloween. She's 94. Good for her. I'm with her. I'm going to be doing that too. I hope I live till I'm 94. That would be awesome. Nicole said, Dawn, my boys just like to be home too and feel safe. Yeah. And you know, I'm like that too. Dana DeMerchant, Little Mama, I have 8 kids, 5 on the spectrum. Homeschooling was truly the best choice. I've heard that from so many people. Okay, so Dawn Wade said, so I'm having a hard time knowing what she needs when she's not enjoying doing school. How old is your daughter again, Dawn? Let's see. Just trying to... Okay, Allison said, should I allow her to do it orally, speak to text, type, but when hanker down with writing because I know she will need to use it? I would say she could do speak to text, or you could just have her say it to you and then you write it down. A lot of times that's what I will do for Summer. Now, Summer is starting to write some things on her own, but if she's, you know, saying something that's a little bit above her level, I will just tell her, what do you want me to write? And then I will write it down for her, and then she then has to copy what I've written so that she's seeing it modeled before her, but it's still her own words. Let's see. D, you're probably the oldest here, 59 in December. That is awesome. Let's see. Yes, detoxing. That's something that we need to do. I said to someone today that deschooling is literally like detoxing. It really is. You're detoxing from school. Dawn, but if she is doing... Oh, I find if I ask her to do something, she has no interest. But if she is doing something that requires measuring in the kitchen, she is into doing it. So what about having her do like a lot of baking? My 14-year-old is really into baking, and there for a while she wanted to open her own bakery, always watching these baking shows, always wanting me to get fondant for her. So yeah, even if most of the things that they are doing seem like they're not very schoolish, just grasp onto anything that they are interested in and just find ways to work that in. That is like one of the things that I've learned the most, is that not everything has to look like something that you would typically learn in school, but everything has value. And if you like really figure out ways, if you're really resourceful, you can figure out ways to work learning into that. Dawn said, I feel we fell into relaxed homeschool unschooling. You know, I think that we ended up doing this out of necessity. It literally saved our homeschool. Let me see. I'm just skimming through here. Daily battle with school. Yeah, we were having, Dawn said that she found a daily battle with school, and we were actually going through a period like that too there for a while, where it literally felt like we were just arguing all the time about getting stuff done in school. And that was when, at that point, was when we were doing like a lot of the workbooks, and we were spending a lot more time on schoolwork than we are now. That was kind of when I took a step back, and I just we took a break for a little bit. And that was when I really read the books, you know, the John Holt books and everything. Teaching from Rest by Sarah Mackenzie is awesome. And, you know, it really opens your eyes to the many ways that learning happens. And that is one thing that we as homeschooling parents really need to grasp, is that learning happens in so many other ways besides workbooks. So we truly don't need to be doing school for 4, 5, 6 hours a day with our kids. You know, that is when, even with me, I finished with 6 of my kids today. We were done in like 2.5 hours for 6 kids. So, you know, I think that it's so important that you just embrace letting them follow their interests, and to understand that those are the sorts of things they're going to remember. And like all those little snippets of information that they're learning from their workbooks and from their textbooks, most likely they are not going to stick with them. Of course, you know, some of the spelling things and some of the basic math and everything. Yeah, of course, those sorts of things are the foundation that they need. But a lot of times we just take that just a little bit too far, and we start using that method in too many things, and it's never really something that ends up staying behind and being retained with them. Let's see. Kristen said, Emma's been home a year in December, and she's finally catching up. I bought The Good and the Beautiful, and finally she's catching up. I've heard a lot of good things about that. I've never tried it, though. Yvette says, my house is always chaotic, but I don't want the public school system. I am a strong believer in John Taylor Gatto. Yes, all the time. I am always talking about Gatto. And yes, my house is chaotic too, because, you know, I've got 9 of my 11 kids still live at home. So yes, but I always call it organized chaos. Yes, it's chaotic, but we have a certain time that we try to get everything done. We have a certain order that we do things in, and certain things that get done every day. So it might look chaotic to someone coming in from the outside, but it's organized chaos. I know exactly what's going on. So that's what's important. Little Mama Purple said, my son is 6 years old, and I'm still trying to find a way to teach him to read, but he can write his letters. And, you know, sometimes, especially boys, they do take a little bit longer to learn how to read, and that's okay. You know, my son, who's 10 now, he didn't really start reading until he was 8. And again, it just goes back to that, when they're older and have a job interview, no one is ever going to ask them, how old were you when you learned how to read? It doesn't matter at all. It just matters that they do know how to read. So if you find that he's having some difficulties learning to read, I would really, really, you know, just offer the advice of just kind of taking a breather, take a step back for a little bit, and it maybe give it like just even like a month or so, and go back in and see if maybe he'll pick it up a little bit faster. With my son, I actually took off like 6 months of trying. And then when I went back in again, he just tackled it like that. And boom, 2 months into Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, which is what I used for a lot of my kids. He was reading chapter books, not really hard chapter books, but like Magic Treehouse chapter books, like within 2 months. of Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. So that's just another one of those things where it's so important to just let your kids follow their timeline. And you know, that can also be one of those things where they're refusing to do their work. If you're expecting them to do things that are beyond their abilities, they a lot of times can't vocalize that. They don't know that that's why this is making them feel this way. But if you are asking them to do things that are beyond their abilities, a lot of times it is going to look like they are being disobedient and are just being difficult. So that's why it's so important to always just really watch your kids, focus on them. And you know, it's something that you just have to, it's just something that you pick up on just by observing them all the time. So many comments. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stick with all of them. Okay. Sorry. Let me see. I'm just going to scroll through here. Yeah, ADHD, that's another thing. And I actually have a video on that because I do have a child with ADHD. So that's one of those things where you have to work in the short lessons, lots of breaks, and definitely hands-on activities, things that are going to keep them moving. So anyway, so these comments are like flying along, and I'm really happy to see that. I love to see you guys interacting with one another. So since I cannot keep up with them right now, I'm going to try to go through in a little bit. But, oh, hold on. I just saw Don Wade. I saw John Holt, and I'm like, ooh. Don Wade said, I did get Teach Your Own and Learning All the Time by John Holt, but those sorts of books I do not enjoy to read as much as I do the Teaching from Rest. Yeah. And, oh, and you didn't like Learning All the Time? Well, we really, you know, I think it's just what you like to read, you know, the kind of writing style that you like. But yeah, Teaching from Rest was also really good. But literally, Dawn, if you saw one of my other videos that I did the other day, I was one of those kids who like read cereal boxes and shampoo bottles. So give me anything to read and I'll read it. But yeah, I did really enjoy John Holt's books. But anyway, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about today that I actually have written down with kids who are refusing to do those work, you know, we talked about, are you expecting too much? Is your child hungry, tired, having a bad day? Are you taking your child's learning style into consideration? Bella, Luke, can you please get Bella off the table again? They just want to be, they want people to know that they're here. So anyway, so the last one, now we are down to discipline, because like it or not, we are just at the point, well, you can sometimes get to the point where you realize that your kids, they're doing this because of disciplinary issues. You can't get around it because they're kids. There is no such thing as a perfect child. There's no such thing as a perfect parent, you know. So I just want you to rest assured that this is, again, I said this in the beginning, but I'm going to say it again in case anyone missed it. Sorry, I had to fix my pillow that I have to sit on. But anyway, you are not a bad parent if you have a child who is having a hard time, or is giving you a hard time, I should say. They all do it. All kids test their boundaries, okay? And that is so important that you don't, you know, think to yourself, I need to send my kids back to school. I'm doing this all wrong. I'm ruining my kids. No, because I will tell you that I sent my kids back to school. And you know what? Their behavior got worse. I'm honestly, you know, at first, when I first sent them back to school, it was just kind of like they were all excited and I was just like, oh, my house is so quiet and clean. I can actually get stuff done. Then after like just a few weeks, boom, that like newness wore off and the behavior got 10 times worse. And I'm actually surprised that I even made it the 2 years with them in school, because it was that bad. So just really, I just want you to know that. But some of the ways that you can deal with disciplinary issues with not doing their schoolwork is the first way, and this is the first thing that I usually do, is have a heart-to-heart conversation with them. And you know, a lot of times in our home, since we have so many kids, a lot of times these behavioral issues don't just affect one kid. I'm having it with multiple kids. So in our house, a lot of times I will call a family meeting. So whenever I call a family meeting, they're always like, oh no, because they know that someone has been acting up or maybe being disobedient, and it's something that we really need to address with everybody, because I think it's important that everybody learns something from the lesson. So, you know, just have a heart-to-heart conversation with them, and, you know, tell them your expectations of them, and just let them know that you are teaching them at home because you love them and because you are doing what's best for them, and that you could really use their cooperation. And maybe during these heart-to-heart conversations is when they will come out with, saying, Mom, I can't do that book. That book is too hard for me. Or, you might have one of your kids say, but Mom, you don't understand how much my hand hurts. Or so just these little issues might come out in these heart-to-heart conversations that you have with your kids. But yeah, that's a really good time to talk about those character issues. So one thing that I think is really important is that when you are having character and behavioral issues in your homeschool, it is very important, I think, that you just take a break from the academics, even if it's just for a few minutes. It could be for the rest of the day, depending on the severity of it. You've got to focus on the relationship issues first. Homeschooling needs to be a relational thing in order for it to work well. So always, always, always deal with those character issues first. And you also have to explain to your kids that it is important that you are educating them. That it is important that they are educated, and you have to tell them that, they are expected to do some things, and they are going to be expected to do things in life sometimes that they may not want to, but they have to get them done, or there will be repercussions, and sometimes I have had to deal with this with my kids, if they would not finish, their math book, not because they were frustrated and having a hard time, but just because they were not happy that day. Then I would just say to them, okay, well, you know what? You can't go outside then today until you get your math done. You have to just instill some sort of discipline, some sort of repercussion for your child so that they understand that this is important. So it could be you can't watch TV then today, or like a lot of times our biggest repercussion in our house right now is no tech time on the weekend, or if I don't take it away for the whole weekend, I'll take it away for one day on the weekend. So you just have to find something that works, something that is going to motivate your kids to understand that yes, they do have to listen to you as the parent, because and this is especially if you are giving your kids lots of input. If they have lots of say over what is going on in their homeschool and they are still giving you a tough time, that is when you do sometimes need to put your foot down and say, you know what, I give you a lot of say in what goes on here. I value your opinion, and I try to do things that are fun for you, but there are some things that I feel is important that you need to learn, and you need to do them, or this, and this is going to happen. And sometimes it really does just come down to that. So anyway, let me just see these comments here. Okay, so Rivka Birch said, we are still fairly new to this. We have almost finished our first year. Deschooling was so important for me to start to relax in our schooling. Yes, you know what? That is something that I think is so, so important for people who have just pulled their kids out of school. You have got to deschool. And I know that it can seem like, oh my gosh, my kids aren't learning anything. I'm not doing anything. That step is so important for you to be able to successfully transition out of that atmosphere into a home learning atmosphere, because like it or not, they are two different things. And deschooling allows your kids to get used to being at home. If they have siblings, it allows them to get used to being with each other. And it allows you as the parent the time to see how learning actually happens without even, trying to do it. So let's see. Oh, D, copy work is just when you write down, like you have your kids copy something, like copy a passage, or my kids will like copy a Shel Silverstein poem. And the purpose of copy work is that your kids are copying it word for word. They have to, if there is a capital letter, they make sure they capitalize theirs. They have to make sure they put in all the commas, all of the quotation marks. And the purpose of copy work is to give your kids a model for good writing. That's why you typically will have your kids use good, like well-written things for their copy work. So they see those models of good writing, plus they see how capital letters are used. They see how commas are used. They see how quotation marks are used, periods. And that is one thing that I really do. My kids, when they do notebooking, I will never go in there with a red pen and like mark up their paper that they wrote down, that they worked so hard on, by saying, oh, you missed this period and this should have been capitalized. Those I kind of leave just for them to get used to writing good content and for them to enjoy writing. The copy work is when I really focus on showing them the mechanics of writing. So that is generally what copy work is for. You just find a passage. Some people use proverbs. Some people have their kids write down like verses from Shakespeare. Others will just take, like a paragraph out of a book that they enjoy and have their kids copy it. For younger kids, copy work can just be something as small as a sentence, and for younger kids, a lot of times it's for just to help them get used to writing. So that's what copy work is. And I actually do have a video on that. If you wanted to scroll through my videos, I do have work on copy work, frequently asked questions. So, oh, and I see Tachi already answered. Sorry, I'm like so far behind. That's what I said. There's so many. I'm just going to go to the end and work my way backwards. So Joe said, deschooling is very important if your children were in public school. Amen. Amen. That is absolutely true. Survival Kid, do you pick what they write for copy work, or do they pick for the older kids? My 16-year-old, she actually picks what she uses for copy work. My 14-year-old right now, she is still using Shel Silverstein, but that is because she enjoys using Shel Silverstein. She's been working through Shel Silverstein for about a year or two now, and she enjoys that. But if she would find another good book that she would want to use, I would definitely allow her to do that. And even, like my, like upper elementary school, middle school grade kids. Now, I do have them do Shel Silverstein, but when they do their animal notebooks too, I always tell them, if you ever want to do a copy work notebooking page, you can do that in your animal notebook. Now, they know that I don't want them doing that sort of thing every single day. I really like to see variety in their writing. But yeah, there are times that they actually pick out what they're doing for copy work. Let's see. Just trying to work through here backwards because there are so many. What is an alternative? Tanny's asking, what is an alternative to copy work and notebooking? This is the hardest thing to get Miss 13 to do. What about like free writing journals? Would she like to do that? A free writing journal where you basically give her a journal and she can decorate it, make it look all nice if she likes that sort of thing. Not all kids like that. And then if you just tell her she can do absolutely anything that she wants in it, anything, it doesn't matter. She can write a story. She can write a poem. She can write song lyrics. She can write a recipe. She can, like draw a picture and then just like write a caption for it, like anything. A lot of times you'll hear of kids in school, they'll give them like 15 minutes of free writing time. And that's like the whole idea of the free writing journals, is just getting them used to putting their thoughts on paper, but you're not giving them, like any boundaries. It's just kind of like anything at all that they want to do with writing. And I found that a lot of kids who do not enjoy writing really do like doing that, because a lot of times what kids don't like about writing is knowing that there are certain expectations that they're just not comfortable meeting just yet. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going through here. Heather said, so many people have a jacket that looks like what you are wearing right now. I saw it on a home in a video elsewhere. Really? I got this at Steinmart like a long time ago, like 7 years ago. I think I was pregnant with my 7-year-old and I still have it. Okay. Oh yeah, Vicky said Mad Libs. I agree with that. My kids love Mad Libs. Let me see. I'm just going to move back because I realize that going backwards, I'm kind of missing conversations and reading them backwards. So that's not a good idea. Kristen said, whatever you do, do not force reading. It really caused a lot of trauma for Emma. And yeah, that's one of those things that I feel sorry for my one daughter, because she was one of them that she would just sit and cry when we were doing her reading. She just wasn't ready, and I didn't get that. I just thought to myself, well, if she was in school, she would be doing this. So I kind of made her do it, but she wasn't ready. thankfully she got over it, and today she does enjoy reading now. And I always tell her she has like a really nice read aloud voice. The one time she actually read me to sleep. So she got over it, and I'm glad. But I definitely would say do not force reading. Let's see. I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, Aaron said, read an article by an OT yesterday that Copyworks helps kids learn to transition from right brain to left brain work. A non-homeschooler talking about benefits of copywork. That was a first. Wow. I remember when I was in school, my third grade teacher, she would have us do it like as punishment. You know, like if there were kids who were misbehaving in the class, she would make us pull out our social studies textbook and start copying out of it. So that was not a good experience for me. But that's why I try to make copywork fun for my kids. You know, I get them stickers and, you know, I get them like glitter, and they can decorate it however they want. So that's one, and that's another thing that I always say about homeschooling. You know, your teachers always told you, oh, you can't draw on your paper. And I always tell my kids, you can draw on your papers whenever you want. So let them make it their own. Let's see. Little Mama Purple said, I had a bad week with my son in homeschooling. My therapist told me to send my son to autism boarding school or private school. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is sad. Yes, Joe, you're right. There is a wonderful group on here. The group is so good tonight that I can't even keep up. Like, I feel like I'm just missing so much here because as I'm like rambling on, you're all having this great conversation and I'm trying to catch up to it right now. Let's see. Okay, Dawn Wade said, any good suggestions for character building traits and or reinforcements for a 10-year-old girl? I know for us, I've talked about CONUS a lot in my videos, and we're not using it right now, but usually CONUS is the unit study that we're using, and unit study is a character-based unit study curriculum. Each of the units is based on certain character traits, you know, like honor and inquisitiveness. What else? Isn't that terrible? I'm like drawing a blank, but there's like all these character traits that it actually follows. And so like, for example, with inquisitiveness, they have like, that's about like different scientists and the scientific method. And, you know, with, I think it's courage, they talk about like the Revolutionary War and those sorts of things. So that really works character traits into things well. I know that there are other character curriculums out there, but other than CONUS, I haven't really worked with any. Okay. Let me see. I feel like I'm just like along for the ride tonight. This is awesome. Oh, someone did say character first. Kristen, you buy her the journals where you fill in the blanks, answer the questions, and go on scavenger hunts. That sounds like fun. I'm just going to go down. Does anyone have any questions for me? Because I'm afraid that they kind of got lost in the questions here. Because I'm having like a hard time keeping up. Wow, you guys are so great. Well, oh, Kristen, you guys don't like the glitter mess. Yeah, I know. It can be nerve-wracking, but anything that is going to encourage my kids to want to do their stuff, I'm all for it. And you know, that's why we all work together to do chores and those sorts of things. But anyway, I think that I am going to end the topic for tonight because it's almost 11 o'clock. And I am so glad that I had all of you here. My cat is back on the table scratching it. Luna, she has, I don't know if it's eczema or what, but whenever winter time comes, her skin gets so dry. But anyway, I was so glad to see all of you on here tonight. I am so glad to see you interacting. You have no idea. You guys are such a great community to see every Thursday night. So next week, I forget what I'm actually going to be talking about next week. I do have something planned for next week. If you ever have any ideas, though, I just want you to know that you can just let me know, and I will try to pencil it in. Oh, you are so welcome, Dawn. But anyway, I just wanted to say good night, and I hope you have a great week till next week.